When healing begins, purpose awakens. This is a major insight into faith, healing, and purpose. Great night, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back, everyone. So, welcome back to a major insight into faith, healing, and purpose. My name is Ashley Major, and I am your host. And it is always a pleasure to be here with you guys each and every Thursday. I'm delighted to be here. And for those of you that are returning, welcome back. Welcome back. If you are new, welcome. This is a safe space for you to just learn more about your faith. So we go deep into faith. We navigate the healing journey, and we talk about what it looks like walking in your purpose and how to get there, right? And so if you are a woman that is just ready to be whole, ready to just be aligned with the plan that God has for your life, then you are in the right place, okay? If you're looking for community, you're in the right place. And so I'm excited to be here. I'm a faith-based holistic life and wellness coach. I'm an author, speaker, and your guide on this journey. So welcome. Okay, now that we're acquainted, it is a pleasure to be here with you guys, man. If you are watching the live, press L in the comments, type L in the comments. If you are watching the replay, comment R, let us know where you are tuning from. I'm excited. I am in sunny Florida, y'all. It is, well, it's getting dark earlier now, so it is getting dark outside. But for those of you, wherever you are in the world, welcome. Let us know where you're tuning in from, okay? So I know we have our IG crew on. Welcome, Nisi. Welcome. It is a pleasure to have you tuning in, Queen. We also have our YouTube and our Facebook crew. So welcome to all of you. All right. So tonight's topic is all about, right? And I'm excited to dive into this because last night, some of you were able to tune into the panel that I was a part of talking about healing after divorce. And there was a group of powerhouse women that shared their journey. Some were divorcees, some were children of divorced parents, and myself being someone that is navigating this journey of divorce right now. And then also had some women on there that were remarried, and it's exciting to see that journey. But one of the things that came up on that episode, or on that discussion panel last night, was the topic of patterns. And my best friend and I, we talk just about every day. And we always talk about patterns, you know, just understanding the patterns, the behaviors, the things that you go through, the things that you navigate, and being aware of those patterns. And so I thought, well, why not let's talk about that tonight? And so tonight's topic is called Breaking the Patterns, How Trauma Shapes Our Lives and How to Heal. How do we heal from that? Okay. And so there are a few things that I want to talk about tonight. So the first thing that I want to discuss is understanding patterns. And then the second thing is, how do we break that cycle? Okay. So as I navigate this journey of helping my clients go from lost, betrayed, broken to heal, happy, and whole, one of the things that we have to do is acknowledge the patterns, right? And so this topic tonight, this is one that we get used to love talking about, because whether you are going through something traumatic, whether you're going through a toxic cycle or not, you are doing some patterns, you have some patterns, some behaviors, some things that do not really align with where you want to go. And so having the awareness of this, how this is manifesting in your life. And so I recently did a workshop last week, week before last, man, time is flying. I think it was last week. So I did a workshop last week, and I talked about the 7 signs to understanding whether you're healed or not, right? So 7 signs of not being healed yet, right? And so these 7 signs, these are patterns of behaviors, right? And so I want you to think about, right? Have you ever been in a place where you are, and we all have these moments, okay? So I'm not the only one. Okay? I am not the only one here, right? But we all have these moments where we're sitting like, well, I'm making new decisions, but I somehow end up in the same situation, right? You're facing the same type of challenges, you're showing up in the same types of relationships, you're making different decisions, but somehow they all turn out the same, right? And one of the things that I was big on just being aware of, right? If everyone is pointing out something about you, right? There's only one common denominator. It's you. And so if you are unaware of the patterns that you have that create the scenarios or the outcomes that you don't like, but you're always pointing the finger at the next person, it's time to wake up. It is time to wake up, right? And so I know for me, my situation was always putting myself in these unhealthy relationships. I'm thinking I'm making better decisions. I'm making wiser, more self-loved decisions that align with the woman that I'm becoming. But all of the relationships somehow end the same, right? Or maybe you're somebody that's struggling with your finances, and it always seems like it's a downhill spiral, even when new opportunities arise, right? Or you may be someone that is chronically stressed, and you're wondering why stress is following you from one season to the next. If that's you, again, I've been there, right? And so, just being aware of these situations and understanding how they manifest is the first step to actually dealing with them. Okay. So let's talk about it. What exactly is a pattern, or what are patterns, right? And so patterns are those repeated behaviors, choices, or outcomes that seem to follow us throughout life. Okay. They show up in every aspect: your relationships, your finances, your health, your routines. They show up in every aspect of your life. And so the reason patterns often come up is because they're a form of survival. There was something that happened in your life that allowed you, and it could be big, it could be small. Remember, our very first episode, I think we talked about acute traumas and chronic traumas, right? We talked about the different types of traumas. They could be very, very small, but it would be so instrumental in how you show up in your everyday life. Or it could be something that, well, you can see that was traumatic, right? And it changed the way that you showed up in the world. But there are different types of traumas, and it doesn't matter the size or the outward impact, right? What people perceive to be an impact, right? Each one of these things can have an internal impact that in turn creates a pattern, a way that you show up in your life, a way that you make decisions. And a lot of times they are unconscious. Okay, this is why you're not aware that this is happening. You're making the same decisions or the same mistakes, and it seems like it's showing up everywhere in your life. It's your pattern of behavior, the way that you treat people, right? The way that you treat people when you are in a space of stress, or you don't know how to handle a situation, and so you go off or you go silent, right? And some examples of patterns are, whether you push people away to avoid hurt, or you are one of those people that cling so tight because you are afraid to lose. There may be some abandonment issues there, right? You may live in scarcity mode. You may always feel like there's not enough, even when there's a surplus. You're always trying to find a way to save or to hoard, right? Because in your mind, there's never going to be enough, even when you have opportunities presented in front of you, right? You can be someone that chronically overthinks, that brings on stress, even when things. Just relax. It's okay. But no, you're thinking about everything that could possibly go wrong. You're thinking about all the things that nobody else is thinking about in this moment that is causing you to now stress and now bring on physical ailments. Because stress can manifest physically, right? And a lot of this can happen because of things that you never addressed in your past, issues that you never talked about, right? I know for me, there were certain, and I shared this on previous episodes, I was looking for love. I was looking for love. And so I chose men that were emotionally unavailable, that projected what looked like love so that they can get what they want. But in turn, I was still fighting every day for love. I was still trying to prove my worth to receive their love, but they were emotionally unavailable. And so, the reason these happen is our brain, it finds a way to protect us, right? Our brain finds a way to just put us in this self-preservation mode, this survival mode. And so for me, because I was constantly looking for love, I told myself, well, it's okay. I'm independent. I don't need them. I can show up the way that I need to show up, and I can still nurture this relationship. But what it was doing was, it was actually draining me. It was lowering my self-worth. It was causing me to not value who I was. It was causing me to think that I was always the problem, and that, there were a lot of things. So I want you to examine, yourself. I want you to examine your patterns, your behaviors. What are some things that people tell you all the time that, maybe you should work on this area? Or, they may tell you that, hey, this is what's causing certain things. And you're thinking, well, no, but if everyone is telling you, think of the things that everyone tells you about that you think is not a problem, but it's a problem for everyone else, right? And my sister, oh, God bless her soul. So one of my sisters, she always would be like, well, my friends don't think I'm like this. Well, the whole family is telling you, you need to work on a certain thing. And you're saying that your friends are not telling you, or they don't feel like it's a problem, or the people that really know you, who knows you better than your family, right? The people that really know you doesn't see a problem with it. Then you have to ask yourself, well, what are the intentions of both parties? Do my friends actually want to see me grow and be better, or is my family just being judgmental, right? And so you have to ask yourself, is what they're telling me going to help me grow and be a better person over time? Or is it just a way for them to put me down and try to control? See, there are different things that you have to think about, because sometimes, like, people tell you things that you can't see. There's always a blind spot, right? When you are in the picture, everything is so close, you can't really see it. But the person that has a total view of the picture, they can see the things that you can't see. And so you also have to evaluate who it's coming from, of course, but really check yourself. Is this going to make me better, or is this just a way of manipulation and control, right? And so a few scriptures that I want to address. See, patterns they're not proof that you're broken, right? These are signs that healing still needs to be had. And so when I talked about the 7 signs that you're not healed yet, right? And we go into the workshop. I have another one coming up next month. And let me just stick that right in here for those of you that would like to join me, right? So this workshop is coming up next month, September 16th. Join me. This is the Becoming Her Again workshop, where we talk about releasing the past, where we identify our patterns, of course. We rebuild our identity, and you reignite your faith. Okay, this is for the woman that knows that there's more to life, right? That wants more peace, wants more purpose, and wants more of her, that is healed, elevated, and reborn in Christ. And so if this is something that you'd like to attend, go ahead, scan the link, scan the QR code, register, and I hope to see you there September 16th. I see we have Tiffany on, and Tiffany, yes, girl, it is true. Like these are a lot of things that we don't pay attention to, right? A lot of things that we see that people tell us about ourselves that we don't even want to accept about ourselves. In our mind, we don't need to change. You just need to get with the program. But sometimes the people that love you are going to tell you the things that you need to hear. Sometimes the people you think that are accepting the behaviors are they're just enabling you. They don't really care about your well-being. They don't care where you go from here down the line. Or maybe they too still have issues that they're dealing with, right? And they need to navigate that. And so because they can't see their own problems, they may be doing the same thing. They don't see a problem with you. And so you have to ask yourself those questions. Who's it coming from? Do they have my best interest at heart? And what is it that they keep pointing out? And so some scriptures I want to remind you, because God's word gives us hope. God's word gives us hope, okay? And so Romans 12:2 tells us, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. We see here that patterns are meant to be broken. Patterns start with renewing of the mind, renewing the way that we think, changing our paradigm, changing our beliefs, shifting our mindsets. If we want to shift our patterns, if we want to change our patterns, break those cycles, it starts with mindset. And I talk about this all the time. We spoke about this last week. We spoke about this the week before. We spoke about this the week before then. Everything starts with the mind. The way that you show up, the way that you care for yourself, the way that you elevate, the way that you heal starts with the mind. Last night on Bible study, we talked about the same scripture, renewing the mind, and understanding that if you want to be restored, restoration comes with renewal. And if you want to be restored, it comes with a shift of perspective, a shift of mindset. Restoration happens every single day. And so that comes with feeding our mind, renewing our minds daily. It's not just a one and done. When you talk about changing patterns, those patterns didn't happen overnight. They were first choices that were made that turned into habits, then turned into patterns. They happened over time. And to break those patterns, you have to shift your mindset, right? John 10:10 says, the thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. I have come that they may live and have it, that they may have life, and have it abundantly. That you may have life and have it abundantly. So we see here that we are not created to be stuck in cycles. We're not created to have our joy sucked away from us, to have our peace sucked away from us, because it says that the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. They're going to steal your joy. They're going to kill your excitement and the way that you show up in the world. They're going to destroy your peace. But Christ came so that we may live, so that we may have life and have more life abundantly. So that means that Christ came to set us free. He came to set us free from these patterns that are diminishing our quality of life. He came to set us free from our own selves, from our own stinking thinking. He came to break us free from those patterns that are sending us in the wrong direction. The ones that are bringing on the depression, the ones that are bringing on the poverty mindset, the ones that are putting us back into these toxic cycles. See, I help my clients break free from these toxic cycles, so they can live a life that is whole and aligned with the purpose that God has called them to be. Who God has called you to be, Queen? Who has God called you to be? Do you know your identity outside of what the world has placed on you? Do you know the identity that Christ created in you? Because you were born with an identity. And somehow the world has stripped it away and has put you in survival mode and has have you in a cycle repeated. Every single time you're thinking you're getting up, you're going back down, and you're wondering why. And that's because you haven't been you haven't acknowledged, or you haven't been aware of the cycles that you've been in. And guess what? We talk about these. There are generational cycles as well. There are cycles that were passed down through your generation that you had nothing to do with. You only hear, well, oh, you're just like your mom, or you're just like your grandmom. Oh, so-and-so used to do the same thing. And you're like, oh, well, that's just a part of who I am. That's just a part of my family's culture. But is that what God designed? Is that something that you should be proud of? Or you should just talk about, well, the women in my family, they all are sweethearts. Or the women in my family, they never get married. They always have children out of wedlock. And now you're another statistic. Is that what you truly desire? Because that's not what God created for you. And so these patterns, these cycles, they need to be broken, and the awareness of them is the first step. The awareness and understanding how they work is the first step. And the final scripture that I want to leave you with is Philippians 1:6. And it says, he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ. Healing is a process. Breaking these patterns, they are a process. They do not happen overnight. But rest assured that God is faithful to complete what he started in you. He is faithful to complete what he started in you. Okay. And so it's important for us to understand that even though these are patterns that are part of our lives right now, they don't have to always be there. These can be renewed, these can be broken, but they take intentionality. They take awareness. They take you wanting them to be broken and doing the work that comes with that. And so that leads us to our next point, which is breaking these cycles, right? How do we break these patterns? So I'm going to give you 4 practical faith-based steps to help you on this journey to breaking those patterns and becoming whole again, to be walking in alignment with who God has called you to be, okay? And so the first thing, as I mentioned, awareness, right? Recognizing your patterns, but without judgment, okay? See, a lot of times we now, because these are things that we think the world puts a stigma on, there's shame, there's fear, there's guilt on it. Now, when you acknowledge it, you're feeling shame, fear, and guilt. No, listen, you know what your pattern is. Face it without judgment. Understand that this is something that I get to work on. This is something that I get to improve about myself. This is a cycle that I get to break. It stops with me here. It's not going to be passed down to my daughters, to my kids, to nobody else in my generation. It's going to be broken with me. And so understanding that no judgment needs to be taken, just write down what you acknowledge, write down what you are aware of, acknowledge that this is something that is actively present in your life. Just acknowledge it. The second thing is reflect, right? Ask yourself, when did this start? Where did this start? What wound is this tied to? Like, how did this come about? What happened in my life? What traumatic experience? What event took place that brought this about? Was it abandonment? Was it rejection? Was it betrayal? Was it fear? Do the deep digging, right? This work helps you to get to the root, helps you to get to the bottom. One of the exercises that I love to do with my clients is called 7 Levels Deep, and it's a clarity exercise. Really just helps you get clear to where things started, get to the root. Because if you don't know where it starts, you're just going to be dealing with the surface, and guess what's going to happen? It's going to come back up again, right? For instance, if you have some internal bleeding going on and it starts to seep out and you just put a Band-Aid on it, did you really start the healing process of whatever's going on. No, you dealt with the symptom, but the issue is still there. Now what's going to happen? It's going to get worse if you don't deal with it. Maybe an infection may take place. Maybe you bleed out. And I know that this is kind of graphic, but we got to get to the seriousness of this, right? If you don't deal with it, it can get worse, and it may cause you your life. It may cause you your life. That's the reality of not dealing with some of these things. And so if we ignore it, if we just put a band-aid over the surface and not get to the root, we are doing ourselves more harm than good. Okay? And so it's important that we reflect. It's important that we do this step. You cannot miss it. The third step is renewal, right? So whatever lies that you've told yourself about the situation that has gotten you to repeat and create this pattern, now you need to replace it with truth. Now you need to replace it with truth. So for me, over time, I felt unworthy of being in a healthy relationship, right? And in my subconscious mind, I knew I wanted more. But I settled. I settled because subconsciously and consciously, I just felt like, well, this is his way of showing me love. But is that God's way? Does it align with what God wanted for me? No. And so you have to replace the lie with truth. And this is where God's word comes in. This is where we get to read our Bible. We get to see what God promises is for us. We get to see the characteristics of God. We get to acknowledge who God says we are, right? Because see, your pattern might tell you that you are not enough, right? But the word of God says that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Your pattern might tell you that you will never be worthy of love. But what does God say? God affirms. God said, I chose you. I chose you. You may feel like you don't deserve it. God said, I sent my son to die for you. I love you. And so what does God's word say? Add affirmations to your life. This is the renewal process. Add affirmations to your life, to your daily routine. If I take you guys in my bathroom right now, all along my mirror are affirmations, affirming God's truth. God says, I am more than a conqueror. Hello. I am beautiful. I am chosen. I am worthy. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I am victorious. This is what God says about me. And I repeat those every single day. God said, I am a masterpiece, created to do good works. So don't let nobody come and tell you, don't let these lies that you've grown accustomed to believing about yourself determine how you live your life. You have an opportunity to make a change. Okay? And so I want you to repeat these to yourself until they start to become louder than the lie that you've been believing. Because eventually they'll be so loud that they drown out the lies and the lies do not exist. And the last step is restoration. So understand that healing takes place in safe spaces. We had a young lady on last week who actually have a women's event that happens, I think it's every month or every quarter, in the Bahamas, in Nassau, and it's called Safe Spaces. And it's for women that are navigating trauma, navigating difficult seasons of their lives, right? But healing truly happens in safe spaces. And so it could be, in a prayer closet, right? Maybe it could be coaching or therapy or in a supportive community. But understand that God did not design us to go through this process alone, to go through healing alone. God designed us to be in community. Hebrews tell us to not forget the fellowshipping. that we need to be in community to encourage and support and uplift one another. God did not design us to be alone. Why do you think he made Eve for Adam? Man is not meant to be alone, and that's not just man, but everyone. God did not design us to be alone, okay? And so this week, I want you guys to, if you don't take anything away from this message today, I want you to walk away with this one practical step that you can implement right now, okay? And so this week, I want you to create a pattern journal, okay? So for 7 days, right, I want you to write down the moments where you notice yourself repeating something that may drain you or may sabotage your growth. So it could be just a behavior, right? Getting angry when you know you don't want to be getting angry, snapping when you know that there's a different approach to dealing with the situation, right? Putting yourself in toxic environments when you know that you shouldn't even be there, saying yes to things that you want to say no to, right? Write down these patterns. Write down every time you see them come up. And don't shame yourself. Don't be embarrassed about them. Don't get mad. You know, we are our own worst critics. We talk to ourselves very harshly. Do not get upset about it. Just notice it. Take stock. Take inventory. Just notice them. Okay? And once you do, I want you to just sit with it, right? Because the first step to transformation is awareness. You cannot heal what you do not confront. You cannot restore what you ignore. I got that from Connie. Connie, I just took a page out of your notebook, right? You cannot restore what you ignore. You cannot heal what you don't address. And so you have to confront these things, but you have to acknowledge them, right? Know that they're there. Don't judge yourself. Just, okay, this happened. And, you know, after the 7 days, this first 7 days, we're just being aware. And now that you are aware, you have a 7-day inventory that you've taken. Now that you can work on the reflection aspect. Where did this start? Where did this come from? And then go through the process of the 4 steps that I shared. Okay. And so as we close, I just want to remind you that patterns are not flaws. They are not flaws. Okay. FLAWS. They are not flaws. All right. These are the survival tools that we had to use to protect ourselves. But it's time to thrive clean. It's time to let go of the survival mode and step into thriving. If you are still in survival mode, you are not healing. Healing is thriving. And so when you are thriving, some of the things that got you to the point where you are right now, you have to be able to let go. You have to know that God has you. And this is why it's so important that we align ourselves with who God has called us to be. This is so important that we understand our identity, because once we understand our identity, we understand our power. We understand our power. And we no longer allow trivial things, right, to take our power away from us. Fear has no power in your life. Doubt has no power in your life. The people that came to break you have no power in your life. The things that made you stumble have no power in your life. It is time to take your power. It is time to own your power. And when you know who you are and whose you are, then you have the confidence and the boldness to take back your power. It is time to thrive, okay? And so I want you to understand that you no longer have to protect yourself. You have a protector. You no longer have to do this alone. You have someone to walk through life with you, always before you, making the way clear. So it is time that you step into who God has called you to be, because he's inviting you. He's inviting you into this new season. He's inviting you that that you no longer, he's inviting you to let you know that you no longer have to do this alone, that the tools that got you here no longer serve the next level to where he's taking you. The fact that you're sitting on this right now, listening to this, whether this is live, whether this is the replay, the fact that you are here right now, the fact that you are still on this 35 minutes later, listening to the sound of my voice, God is waiting for you to step into the new season. He's inviting you to step into the new season. So do the work. Do the work. Stop saying that this is who I am, because it's not who God called you to be. That is not all. You are shortchanging yourself. There's so much more in you. There's so much more potential that you can step into right now, and you are limiting. You are putting a limit on God because you are not stepping in your wholeness, your fullness. You are not stepping into what God has called you to be. You have to let go, break those cycles. It's time to do the work. It is time to do the work. See, healing is possible, freedom is possible, and God promised this to you. He promised you freedom. He promised you restoration. He promised you wholeness and fullness of joy. So if you are ready to break free, if you are ready to step into the woman that God has called you to be, to become healed, elevated, and reborn again, then I invite you, Queen, to join me. I invite you to join me September 16th, okay? If you don't want to wait until September 16th, then book a restoration call with me. Book a restoration call, because this is just the beginning. If something deeper has been unlocked tonight, if you are ready to have a real compassionate conversation about where you are and how to get where you want to go, how to break those cycles, to get clear and start your breakthrough, then book a restoration call with me. This is free. You don't have to worry about paying anything. It's 45 minutes, and you're going to walk away with some clarity. You're going to walk away with some direction. You're going to walk away with a head start on your next level. Okay? And so I want you to understand that you are not defined by your patterns. You are not defined by your patterns, but you are defined by God's purpose. You are defined by God's purpose, and God wants to redefine you today. He wants to redefine you today. So it is time for you, okay? So if you got value from this, I pray that you take the steps that you need to start your healing journey, to start your restoration, to acknowledge the patterns that no longer serve the woman that God is calling you to be. It is time to step into her. And we have to do that. You can't just run into it. You can't just run into it. A lot of times we do not want to do the work. We just want to breeze over that part of it. But that's the hardest part, because once you can do the work, once you can face your truths, once you can acknowledge where you are and the things that you need to work on and do the work to fix those areas, to elevate yourself, to tap into the things that have broken you, and to work on healing that inner child, to work on loving yourself, you're always going to repeat the same patterns. If you don't do the work, you're going to be in the same position you are. If you breeze over it, if you rush over it, you're going to end up back someday, somehow, in the same position you were when you began. And that's the point that we're trying to break through. That is the breaking point. That is the part that is going to get us to the next level once we can actually work through it. You can't jump over it. You have to go through, okay? And when we go through, when we work through it, when we do the work, the hard, intentional work, life looks so much different. Life looks so much different. Your life is peaceful. Granted, every level there's something new that's going to come, but the way that you approach situations, the way that you show up in life, the way that you handle your relationships, the way that you handle your finances, the way that you handle mental strain is different. It is different. The way that you handle stress and things that can be overwhelming is different because you've done the work. You know the triggers, you've set boundaries, you have done what you needed to do to make sure that there are safeguards in place. So when you do come across some of these things again, you now know how to navigate it with grace. You know how to love yourself a little better. You know how to set boundaries and say no. You know how to stand guard at the doorway of your mind and not allow certain things in. Switch the music, change the environments. But unless you are aware, you can't make a change. And so healing is yours to have. Restoration is yours to have. And so if you are ready, go back, save this video, watch the replay, do the work, okay? And so I encourage you guys to share this with a friend. If you got value, like, comment, share, turn on your notification buttons. And if you were blessed, feel free to bless our ministry and cash app us at A Major Insight. Well, $ A Major Insight, right? But I thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you back here next week, same time, same place. See ya. This is A Major Insight into Faith, Healing, and Purpose with Ashley Major.